Okay, that's really helpful. And I know that Leah, you had shared with us a slide of some sample objectives, and we can go ahead and move to that, and you can explain to them using some of those verbs that Karina just mentioned.
Yeah, so I just wrote a couple of quick learning objectives looking at using these measurable verbs, right? So here's the first objective that I wrote here, right? I see objectives like this a lot. By the end of the lesson, students will understand and use the present perfect form. Okay, use somewhat measurable to a degree, but understand, how do you know, right? Understand is a cognitive process. So how do you know that a student understands? They just nod their head like they understand, and I would just say, yep, they understand. Okay, so I'm just going to show you maybe a better way to phrase and to look at those objectives, right? So by the end of the lesson, students will, instead of understand, identify and interpret present perfect structures in a text about life experiences. Okay, it's measurable. Can they find them and identify them and then talk about what they mean, right? Students will be able to demonstrate understanding of the present perfect by constructing sentences about their own life experiences. Measurable ways to measure achievement.
And really a lot more specific as well, right? Like it's not just that you can measure it, but it shows how you're going to measure it.
Exactly.
And that's really helpful as well. So thank you for those really great examples. And just to give perspective about why we're mentioning this at all. So we were talking about the taxonomy, and then how can it help you with your lesson planning? And this is helping you determine if your lesson planning was successful, like if the students were able to achieve that outcome. So like what should students do and the action words. But as teachers, how do we know? I mean, you told us how to measure these objectives, but how do we know if we're doing it? How do we know if students are actually achieving these objectives and if we're being effective teachers?
Yeah, and I think this is where assessments come into play, right? So I think that the most vital, one of the most vital assessments in the classroom are the ongoing assessments, right? Listening to what students are saying during a group work task or monitoring their progress in a writing activity. These are excellent indicators that students are achieving learning objectives, right? But also more formal assessments, right, can be used, and we use them all the time: quizzes, writing assignments, presentations, etc. And these allow students an opportunity to demonstrate their achievement of those objectives.